over to the real stars of the show, which are the students that are actively engaged in these programs, where they are making an impact already in the work that they're doing. If you come to Mind, you're going to get a first-rate STEM education. You're going to be leading technicians in your fields. Many students come in, though, looking for more than that, more opportunities beyond what's happening in the classroom and ways to apply those opportunities in the context of the working world. So today you're going to hear stories from these ambassadors. I find them quite compelling. They're their personal stories. Nothing is canned. Later on in the afternoon, from 1 to 2:45 in Lockridge, there will be an involvement and resource fair, and there you can ask questions of the student ambassadors, the directors, find out more about the programs, and they'll give you that one-on-one time that you may be looking for. But I'd like to start off right now telling you about our Thorson First-Year Honors Program. It is in its third year. We had 567 applications this year for 105 spots. We are trying to grow that program, but it's highly competitive to get in, and if you find yourself as being one of these highly motivated students that is interested in interdisciplinary learning environment, this might be the place for you. You'll take a 2-course sequence called Ideas, Innovation and Discovery in Engineering, Art, and Science, and it is collaboratively taught by a group of very passionate faculty from across science, technology, engineering, math, humanities, arts, and social sciences. So it truly is an interdisciplinary team. It replaces your 2 freshman required courses, NHV and Introduction to Design. It offers a collaborative approach to learning that uses real problems to introduce students to the roles of engineers and scientists in their future careers. There are also co-curricular components to the Thorson First-Year Honors Program, scholarships, an international trip over the winter break. There is a themed learning community in Bradford Hall. We do local field trips, etc. It's a very close-knit community. So this Minds Plus experience helps prepare students for some of the other programs you're going to hear about today. It's not mutually exclusive. You don't have to go into this program to succeed in the other Minds Plus experiences. But if you're looking for an integrated learning environment, your very first year, you might want to apply or at least look more into our Thorson program. I'm going to ask Allie Beth to come up and share her story. She was one of our first Thorsonites. And I believe now she's a teaching assistant for the program. And I'll turn it over.
Thank you, Toni. Yes, my name is Allie Beth Ryan. I'm a junior in chemical engineering. I was part of the first Thorson class. And some fun facts about me are I'm an intern at Johns Manville for their Advanced Materials Research Group. I'll touch on that a little bit later. And also, the slide's gone, but I love my dog Blitz. The hardest part about coming to college for me was saying goodbye to my dog. Sorry, parents. It was nice to get away. So how many of you, for the students, don't really know what school you want to go to, don't really know what you want to do? You can raise your hands. I promise admissions is not looking. Okay. 3 years ago, I was in the same boat. I knew that I really liked math. I really liked science. I was good at it. It was a potential career path for me, but I didn't really know what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go. When I came to Minds, I saw that it was an exceptional school with exceptional technical education, but it was really kind of missing the other half of like the English and the arts that I really did enjoy in high school. So when I was at my preview Minds, I had heard about this new program called Thorson, which seemed to kind of integrate the arts into that technical side of the education. So I thought, okay, well, I might as well apply. And like Toni said, there is an Explore floor, which I decided to apply for as well. So like most of you probably will, I made the last minute choice to come here. I got into Thorson. I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Why not? So on the first day at Minds, I walked into my dorm room and I looked at my roommate. And I was in shock because I was like, we have absolutely nothing in common. And it was terrifying because she liked different things. I liked to ski, she liked to play video games. We were completely different people. But the one thing that I overlooked that we did have in common was Thorson. We were both accepted into the program, and that program really looks for people who want to ask the harder questions, who want to explore different solutions to problems and really think outside of the box. So my whole entire floor, actually, we got along really well. There was not the same person on the floor. Like, every single one of us was different, but we all encouraged each other to kind of branch out and explore each other's interests. So I learned a lot, not only from this program, but also my friends. And the best part was that twice a week we got to go to class together, and we would go to Ideas, the Thorson's class for freshmen. And I'll never forget, one day we walk into class, and Sarah, who's now the director of the honors program, she goes, "Okay, so your group is about to go get on a bus, and we're going to bus you to the outskirts of Golden, and you're going to walk along this route, and you're going to ask at least 5 people these questions." And my group was like, "Okay, how are we getting back?" And she's like, "Oh, you'll figure it out." Great. So we go out there, and we were like walking around talking to people we would have never talked to, and really getting a sense for what they liked about the community, what they didn't like about the community, what could be made better. And some of their solutions I had never thought of before. Like, one lady was like, "Well, I'd really like grass in this dog park instead of rocks for the dogs." And these were small things that we could then bring back and talk about in class. And this program extended that concept to downtown Denver. They didn't throw us in Denver right away. They did give us a little warm-up in Golden. And then they put us out in Denver, and we were walking around in groups of 5 people like, "How do you think this building looks today?" So it was really great to like really talk to people, ask them random questions, and really learn about how other people think and how people who are different than you kind of approach problems. And so I thought, cool, I got that out of this program. I had a really fun time in the class. Now I can move on with my engineering education. I didn't really feel like it had an impact on me until this past summer when I was doing my internship at Johns Manville in that advanced materials research group. So on the first day, my boss sat me down and he told me that I had this really complicated test that he wanted me to make simple and put in the plant. And I said, "Great. When can I go to the plant to talk to the people to ask them what they want and what they need?" And he looked at me, he was like, you don't have any questions about the chemistry or the engineering behind it?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm sure I do, but first I'm going to ask the people. The people that I'm making this test for are the only people that really matter. They don't necessarily need to understand the engineering behind it, but I need to understand what they want so it can be useful for them." So as the summer went on, I simplified the test, making sure it kind of fit what they wanted and what they needed. And by the end of the summer, it was a projected $8 million savings for the company. So as I was preparing my final presentation for senior leadership team, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be able to defend these numbers. I have to be able to defend the chemistry. What am I going to do? So I had all these backup slides of here's the chemical usage, here's the efficiency, yada, yada, yada. And at the end of my presentation, the senior leader of global engineered products stands up and he says, "Who taught you to think like that? Who taught you to think through that problem the way you did? Because I think every single intern in this room can learn from that." And I was not prepared for a question like that. So naturally, the first thing that came to my mind was Thorson. And I explained, I was like, there's this program at my school where they want you to just think outside of the box, and they make you do these crazy things like build birdhouses out of magical clay. And it's so strange, but it really has you approach these problems from a different point of view and a different perspective. So I don't think I gave him exactly the right answer he wanted, because he wanted everyone to learn from it, but I was like, right, it's my school, it's this program that really instills this love of learning, this creative aspect, and just teaches people to come at things from that different point of view. So while that was great, I was so thankful for that experience, but I'm also still best friends with my roommate, who I thought I had absolutely nothing in common with. And other people on my floor, like Toni said, this is a gateway to other programs. You don't have to be involved in Thorson to do these other programs that they're going to talk about, but it is a great way to get that first step and get involved. And I still have some of my best friends are from people I lived with on the Explore floor. So if you have any questions, that's my email. Please write it down. Take a picture, and representatives from Thorson will be at the fair this afternoon. So thank you all very much for your time.
One of the common threads you're going to hear today about these Minds Plus experiences is that the learning extends past the traditional boundaries of the classroom. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Grand Challenge Scholars Program and then turn it over to our storyteller. Grand Challenge Scholars Program It's sponsored by the National Academy of Engineering, and it's intended to provide engineering students with the competencies they need to tackle the big challenges facing the world. Grand Challenge Scholars emphasizes 5 pillars of curricular and experiential activities in order to achieve those goals: global experiences, service learning, entrepreneurship, interdisciplinary curriculum, and project-based learning experiences. They try to frame in this program the types of critical, creative thinking engineers and scientists need to work outside and just beyond just the technical scope of things. We don't engineer in a vacuum. We need to be able to engage others and ask those big questions. It creates the habits of mind that these engineers will need, and it's also something that I know that industry leaders are looking for on resumes. Were you a Grand Challenge Scholar? What did you learn? What kind of impact do you want to make? I'll let Paul tell you more.
All right, guys. Hello, I'm Paul Barker. I'm a junior in mechanical engineering, and I'm the president of the Grand Challenges program here at Mines. I got my first foray into this Grand Challenge mentality in Mines Plus in my first few weeks here at Mines in our first-year design course, where we walked into class one day, and the professor said that we needed to build a 5-foot by 5-foot by 5-foot cube, and that it needed to cost less than $500. And if we had any questions, to email her. Being the young and excited engineers we were, we decided that we do not need any help to build a cube. It's just a cube. So we went back to the dorm, sat down, and decided, what if we just made a $200 solid concrete cube? Checked off everything on the spec sheet, and it was $300 less than the price they'd given us. So, hell of an engineer, did a good job. Came into class, presented it, and then the professor stood up and said, I have a few more details about this project that I didn't share with you earlier. This cube is going to be a table for a small girl who has cerebral palsy. Therefore, there needs to be built-in safety measures into the cube that should she fall into it, trip over it, that she will stay safe. And to make matters worse, it needed to be on the second floor of a house. I think we can all agree that a concrete cube may not have been the best solution to this problem. And that really opened my eyes as an engineer and also as a person, in that this wasn't a situation where it was a bad customer. They weren't not telling us things because they wanted us to fail. They just didn't know those were things they needed to tell us. And as an engineer, you have to know to ask those questions. You have to ask, hey, what am I going to use this cube for? Is it going to be a table? And what kind of materials should I build this cube out of? Is concrete okay? And it really opened my eyes in that you need to be able to ask these questions and think more about the problems that you're solving and really clearly define a problem. The concrete cube was a solution, but it wasn't a solution to the problem. And that really drove my experience as a Grand Challenge Scholar. Throughout the rest of the semester, I got to do 2 more design projects, the first of which being improving urban infrastructure, one of the 14 challenges where we went and helped solve the homeless problem down in Denver. We didn't solve it, but we did make some shoes that hopefully alleviated some of the pain of being homeless. Then the next semester, we worked on enhancing virtual reality, where we developed a completely non-technical solution to get more interest in virtual reality, so that with more interest, hopefully people would innovate a lot more in that sphere. And then after that, I got to work in, once again, improving urban infrastructure. I have a common theme at the Colorado Department of Transportation, where I interned and worked with a large swath of data that needed to be communicated to both engineers and also non-engineers. And that's where my skill set as a Grand Challenge Scholar really came into play, where I'm able to take things from social responsibility, political, like legislative, economic and entrepreneurial, and also a global dimension, and be able to take very deep engineering topics and present them to people who aren't engineers. Because more and more in the engineering sphere, it doesn't matter if you are good at math and science, but can you tell someone why that matters? Everyone in this room, I'm assuming to some degree, can math and science pretty well, but the problem becomes way more harder when you need to tell someone why they should care. And that's really defined my trajectory here at Mines as a person, an engineer, and an employee. And I'm hopefully some of that spoke to you all. Please feel free to email me. That's my email, and we'll be at the involvement fair after. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your tour.
So yeah, of course, critical thinking, empathy, understanding the kind of questions you might want to ask to get the responses to help you design this way. It's a good leadway into another option here at Minds. A Minds Plus experience is the McBride Honors Program in Public Affairs. It is our flagship honors program. It's been here since 1978, so yeah, we're celebrating our 40th anniversary. McBride has pioneered different pathways here at Minds and has served as an incubator for innovative curriculum by integrating perspectives from the sciences, engineering, humanities, and social sciences. You're allowed to choose interdisciplinary honors courses. They're often co-taught by two different disciplinary experts. It's a competitive program to get into, but it's also a competitive program to be able to teach in. Faculty have to apply and submit proposals, show why they're passionate and why the course that they're going to teach belongs in this interdisciplinary environment for highly motivated students like Megan. It's a 21 credit hour minor, and it begins in your sophomore year. Those minor credits replace your humanities, arts, and social science requirements, otherwise known as HOS. One of the things I've learned in my 20 years here is I need a cheat sheet of the acronyms. You're probably going to hear Megan say HOS, and that's what she's referring to, Humanities, Arts, and Social Sciences. I'm going to let Megan tell you her pretty vibrant story through the McBride Honors Program.
Hello everyone, my name is Megan McKeever and I'm a senior in chemical engineering this year. Still not ready to graduate, but that's okay. So, like many of you, when I was choosing colleges, I was like, well, I'm good at math and science. Engineering is probably what I'm going to end up doing. But throughout high school, I really loved all the liberal arts side of things and really developing my communication skills and my ability to think analytically about those types of pieces of work. So with that, I applied to all liberal arts schools and then Minds. And obviously I ended up at Minds, so not really my ideal track. But when I was looking at the school, I really found the McBride Honors Program. And I was like, well, I think if I can get into that program, that will make my Minds experience completely well-rounded and what I want it to be. And I can definitely say that's why I've remained at Minds throughout all these years, is the McBride program. So like Toni mentioned, our program is a minor, and it's 21 credits, and you start in your sophomore fall traditionally, and you take 2 classes right off the bat that everyone takes throughout the program. And after that, it becomes a little bit of your own, choose your own adventure story. So you get to choose the track that you want to do. So the first 2 classes that you take are Explorations of Modern America and Explorations of the Modern World. And these are just 2 classes to really get you into the mindset of the program and what it's all about to help you start thinking in the way a McBride would think. So Modern America is the look at American history through 2 opposing political lenses. So basically you go out through the founding of the United States, look at it, and really are able to form your own opinion of what you think happened based on these 2 opposing views. And then Modern World is a little different. You actually use literature and go through a couple different books and analyze different just explorations of the world and different types of history in that way. And both of these classes are really unique just because the fact that actually everyone wants to be there. Everyone wants to be part of the discussion. People aren't just taking their HOS class because it's a requirement. They want to be there and they're excited to show up to class every day. So what makes McBride unique is actually the types of projects and work you do in your classes. So for Modern World, my class, I don't know why, we just love to do skits. So we did a lot of skits, a lot of acting. We also played with Play-Doh, did a whole bunch of poster boards and presentations, and just work that's not traditionally seen in your HOS classes. My favorite assignment for Modern World was our photo narrative. And this was an assignment where we had to take a set of photos and then write 2 different narrative stories. So I chose my freshman year, I went to the aquarium in Denver. I'm from California originally. I've never really used public transportation, so figuring that out was quite an adventure, and I ended up getting very lost with my friends. So I wrote one story in that perspective of like me getting lost and being scared in Denver, and then figuring it out. And then my other story, just because I could, I wrote it in the perspective of a fish. So not your traditional assignment, but something that's very exciting and very interesting to do. So as you see, our motto is Explore Your World. So after these 2 classes, you really get to choose what you do. So I've taken a dark side of psychology class, science and spirituality, and right now I'm in Confucian ethics. So just a really broad spectrum of classes and subjects that you can learn about. And after your first 2 core classes, you can really choose what you're interested in to follow. Like Toni said, the teachers and the professors who actually have McBride classes have to apply. So they're a professor who gets really excited about a topic and applies to do the program. The capstone of McBride, the last 3 credits in your 21 credits, is the practicum experience. The practicum is amazing. It's really your opportunity to take something that you've always wanted to do and then go out and do it. So for the practicum, there's several different pathways for myself. I've always wanted to go to Spain. So I went to Spain and did research between my sophomore and junior years over the summer because I thought doing an internship was that was too much at that point. I wanted to go explore more. You can also do policy internships, regular internships, normal research. Most of us choose to go study abroad. There's service trips you can go on. So it's really up to you to choose your own adventure and make this program what you would like. And it's important to not only be an engineer, but be an engineer who can communicate effectively. So I'll be at the resource fair, so come talk to me. Obviously, I can talk to McBride forever. So there's my contact information, and thank you.
Thank you, Megan. I'd like to introduce you now to Humanitarian Engineering. Our Humanitarian Engineering program brings together engineering and social sciences to transform the ways engineers are taught to think, define, and solve problems. Humanitarian Engineering offers 2 undergraduate minors. The first one is Engineering for Community Development, which prepares mine students to become leaders in community development through the act of engineering. The knowledge and skills learned in this particular minor will prepare graduates for any engineering job involving community engagement, cross-cultural work environments, and human-centered design. You're probably picking up a theme so far in these presentations that the Minds Plus experiences really trying to go outside of the traditional classroom, come up with new ways to help foster strong communication skills, whether it's through writing, through presentations, through pitching a project, to talking to people within the community. You're going to get a great Minds education here. You're going to become a world-class engineer, but we also want you to become a world-class global citizen who can interact well with others and come up with these solutions. The other minor is in leadership and social responsibility, which prepares students to become leaders in promoting shared social, environmental, and economic value, and this is for both companies and stakeholders. Graduates in this minor are sought out by corporations, especially looking for engineers who are prepared to factor in public perception and community acceptance into the decisions they make. I'm going to turn over to V. She can tell you more about this 18 credit hour minor and the amazing experiences she's had through its pathway.
Hi everybody, as Toni said, my name is V. I am a senior here and at the Civil Engineering Department. I'm double minoring in Humanitarian Engineering, specifically engineering for community development and McBride Honors Program. So during my freshman year, I had a good friend who wanted to double minor in the humanities. And at that time, I thought to myself, wow, you're ambitious. I don't know if I can do that. I mean, I, at that time, was a relatively average student. I was never the best at any of my technical classes. So instead, I decided to join the Minds Without Borders Club, which allowed any student interested in humanitarian engineering projects to participate. My first project was the Los Gomez Water Distribution Project, located in Nicaragua. Because I was a freshman at the time, my technical knowledge about water distribution systems is about 0. So I made myself useful in other ways, such as fundraising for trips, translating documents, conducting phone calls and surveys in Spanish. I did not realize, it didn't take long for me to realize that I loved doing engineering projects that allowed me to apply my education to real global issues. And perhaps it was the first time that I felt that me, as a measly little engineering student, can enact change in this small or large and complex world. I then started to take humanitarian engineering classes, which taught me to better engage and collaborate with the communities that I work with. I eventually moved on from the water distribution project and to two pedestrian bridge projects, both of which were in Nicaragua. Following that was a water sanitation project in Peru, a geological hazard risk mitigation and perception project in Guatemala, and finally a public transportation evaluation project in Vietnam. I studied abroad in Vietnam fall semester of 2017 in Da Nang, Vietnam, which is my dad's hometown. During my time there, I evaluated a new public transportation system during its implementation stages. I got to explore the city, interview the locals on their perspective of this new system. From my research experience, I found that good intentions were not enough to ensure the quality of a public transportation system, and the pressures from tourism-based economy, national politics, and the unfortunate perception that successful development has to look like Western development were main factors that got in the way of good design and implementation. In addition to these technical findings, I was also able to learn more about myself and the true meaning of humanitarian engineering. I discovered that humanitarian engineering is not guided by hippie ideals like universal love, nor is it volunteerism where students just go to a different country to make themselves feel good doing little activities that don't really have a sustainable impact, nor is it community service where one donates their time to a good cause. Instead, the study of humanitarian engineering is how engineers can affect society, whether it be for the good or the bad, and how we, as engineers, can serve our society better. Although I spent most of my undergraduate career doing development work, it is not the only way to enact positive change. Both the public and the private sectors have room to change, to improve, and it takes people who are cognizant of their unique positions as designers and engineers, and are passionate about providing inclusive technical solutions to make it happen. For those of you in the audience that worry that perhaps these extracurricular activities might consume too much time or energy from course classes or career advancement, I would ask you to reconsider. I was able to travel to 5 different countries: Ecuador, Nicaragua, Peru, Guatemala, Vietnam, all with the support of the Haas department. I was still able to enrich myself professionally through other industry-specific societies and conferences. And I also had 3 on-campus jobs as TAs or an undergraduate researcher, and 3 technical engineering internships during my summer here in Colorado, New York, and California. It is possible to get so much out of your undergraduate experience, and it's because of the intimate atmosphere and the vast number of opportunities here at Mines. So I urge you, consider investing your time in the Humanitarian Engineering program. It will enrich your life in so many unimaginable ways like it did mine. And if you have any questions, please email me or stop by our table later. Thank you.
Undergraduate research has been mentioned, I think, by every one of our presenters. So I think it's time that we hone in and focus on what we offer for our undergraduate research scholars here at Mines. We don't want to wait till your senior year. We don't want to wait till you're in industry, working in your dream job or in grad school to begin undergraduate research. We want to give you the chance to do that the moment you arrive, to do meaningful, real-world science and engineering research, work with a mentor, a faculty mentor in the lab, get paid for your time as you pursue, of course, your academic development, but I would argue your intellectual, your professional, and your personal development that occurs when you get involved in research. We have the Mines Undergraduate Research Fellowship that offers offers a fellowship to 130 students, and they present at our research symposium in the spring. They do poster presentations. They often have the opportunity to go to other conferences and symposiums, and every now and then you'll even see your name on an academic technical paper that you have co-authored with your professor. From your undergraduate career, you have the opportunity to do that here at Mines. We want to help students engage right away. This year we launched the FIRST program, which is the Freshman Innovation Research Training Fellowship. Starting small, we had 20 spots. These fellows receive a stipend. They get paired up with a faculty mentor the second week of their freshman